Okay, so this one is called PRWYRT. It's general guidelines, different things that I send as a text message at some point throughout the years. And so this is a compilation of all those things that, do's and don'ts, like don't do this, do that, that I've told my employees uh, about different things that have to do with performance, the business, customer service. So PRWYRT means, and that's why I called it, because usually I say don't do these or do these, and please, and I send it out to the group as a text message, and I usually at the end say, please reply when you read this, acknowledging that that I sent out the message. So I'm asking my employees to reply that they've read it. So this is like different compilations, different things that I sent out as a text message, to everybody for every employee to read. So they talk about different things. So I'm just gonna go through them. It's about 50 of them. So I'm just gonna read them. Most of them are self-explanatory. So I'm not gonna stop and go into detail. It's just what I'm reading. If you have any questions about any of them, just let me know. Okay, number one, always follow through with appointments and reservations. Don't use post-its. Okay, post-its have no purpose and have no use. If you have the time to make a post-it, that means that you also have the time to put it in the computer. So use the computer to write the notes. Dog poop is cleaned out right away. It's your job to clean it. So if you see dog poop, whatever it is, if it's in a kettle, if it's in a dryer, wherever it is, parking lot, your job is to pick it up. Okay, always take it out to the dumpster or put it in a place where it's not gonna be smelling. People sign a release. The releases are forms that we have available at the reception. If there is a pre-existing condition, that means even like the dog having like matted hair, or if they went to surgery a few weeks ago, whatever it is that's a pre-existing condition, they have to sign a release. The customer has to sign a release. Okay, so be familiar with it, have it handed. If you don't ask them to sign a release for a pre-existing condition, and they should have signed the release, then you're responsible for it. Okay. No discounts apply ever to bath and brush, only with the VCC. So that means that first time people coming in for the first time, on Monday that we have the 10% off, and the military discount, which is also as the first time, which is a 15% off. It doesn't apply to bath and brush. Bath and brush is already a discounted price. Do not switch days with somebody without management approval. That means that if the schedule comes out and you want to switch out a day with somebody else that can cover for you, and you want to have that day off, you have to ask your manager first. Okay, so you don't switch out days without asking your manager. Because if you don't show up to work without previous notifications, you're automatically fired. So if you switch days with somebody and that person doesn't show up and there is no previous arrangement, you're still responsible for that day to be covered. And if you don't show up and you didn't tell anybody, then you're automatically fired. That goes for any other situation where you don't show up to work. Okay. The cooling units have a capacity. It is limited by several factors. It doesn't cool off just because you want it to cool off and you just move like the thermostat to like turn on more often. It doesn't work like that because there's a lot of humidity and heat coming from the grooming and from us and just for the people in the reception, and then opening up and closing down the door so the cool air exits the building, and it's the air conditioning is supposed to be a closed cycle, so it's hard for the AC unit to keep it cool. So if you move the thermostat, it's not gonna make it cooler. Okay, you're not supposed to play with the thermostat. Okay, if you bring your dogs for grooming, I can only give you discounts if you bring them after 3 p.m. and the groomers agree to stay and groom them after they finish with their appointments and walk-ins. It's one dog per day, so if you have multiple dogs and you want somebody to groom them, I usually give you 15% off because I still have to pay the groomer their commission. I usually don't make any money off of you, It's just to pay the commission for the grooming, which is fair. And it doesn't include any special shampoos or anything like that. You gotta pay for that. If you bring in before 3 p.m., you gotta pay a regular price, just like any other customer. Okay, you have to let me know before you bring your dogs for grooming, or for boarding, or for daycare. You have to let me know that. For people coming or asking for a de-shedding, you need to be very clear that we can do the de-shedding, and it's gonna help a lot. But then you gotta tell them that de-shedding is a follow-up treatment, especially during the summer. And the de-shedding does not stop the dogs from shedding. It removes a lot of the hair, and it's usually that season where they shed a lot, January through April, is the time of year when they release their winter undercoat. So the shedding is gonna continue during that time. There's nothing we can do. So you gotta be very clear that this shedding helps, but it's not gonna stop it, okay? And they need to know that. They need to be aware of that. Don't move the settings on the washer, the thermostat, the blower, the dryers, nothing. Don't move the settings. We have settings for everything, and that's the setting that it has, whatever it is, if it's a washer, if it's a dryer, whatever it is, it's because that's the best setting for that machine to operate with, okay? So don't move the water levels, whatever it is on the washer machine, don't move it, okay? If you need to move something because you think that you need to move it, you need to adjust it, talk to your manager first. Okay, the other thing is, you're gonna have to excuse me because the dryer just, basically just started. So most of the equipment that we use, including the washer and the dryer, have instructions written on them. And then if you don't know how to operate something, talk to your manager. Moving the settings on the cooling unit doesn't make it cooler, like I mentioned before. Replacing a broken thermostat, those are pre-pandemic numbers. It was $1,300 back then. Right now, I'm sure it's close to $2,000. If you mess up with the cooling unit, the AC, and you mess up the compressor, if it blows out, replacing it is $2,000. Okay, so don't move the settings. Clean the filter on the dryer every time you put towels in it. No more than 10 towels at a time. That's for all the dryers for every location. You don't put more than 10 towels in a washer, and no more than 10 towels in the dryer. You gotta clean the filter for the dryer every time you use it, and no more than 60 minutes in the dryer. If you're needing more than 60 minutes to dry the towels, there's something wrong with the dryer, and you need to report it in the maintenance group. If a groomer tells you they're charging extra for matted hair and you don't tell the customer and you don't make the charge, you are covering it for it. In the sense that if you gotta take the time to stand up when somebody comes in and look at the dog and the condition of the coat, you know when a dog needs to be charged extra. If you're not sure, ask your manager. If you're not sure, ask the groomer. Call the groomer up. Just ask them if they're going to charge extra for a dog. You can see if a dog needs an extra charge, okay? If you're still not sure and the groomer is not there, just tell the customer that looking at the dog, you can tell there's going to be an extra charge, or might be an extra charge for the haircut because it's just too matted. The groomer is not there yet. You're going to call him usually $10, $15, but we charge twice as much for grooming a dog in really, really bad condition. So keep that in mind. Any decision that you make on your own that creates a loss to the business comes out of your pocket. Okay, there's a lot of things that we have to pay for. If there's, we used to have insurance for everything, and then it was just employees messing up, just being negligent and not following through and making a lot of mistakes. So it was costing us a lot. So at some point, the insurance company says, I'm not covering for any of that. Like, you made a mistake, we're not covering for it. So now if we made a mistake, especially for the grooming, we have to pay out of our own pockets. So that includes people working reception. If you mess up, we got paid amongst everybody, and that's the agreement that I have with everybody. If a dog needs to go to the vet, we pay that out of everybody's pocket that is working with the grooming dogs. Okay, so that includes the groomers, and they're not happy if somebody else makes a mistake. So you gotta be very careful, okay? Never assume. So assumptions are really bad. So if you're not sure, the best advice that I can give you is talk to the groomer, talk to the customer, make sure you understand exactly so there's not miscommunication in between the customer and the groomer. And if you're still not sure, talk to your manager. Then washer needs a balance load. If you put one thing like a dog's bed and nothing else, and you don't balance the load in the washer is gonna break. So the balance load means the same weight all around the tub in the washer. All appointments made for daycare have to say daycare on the subject line. Whenever you have like a line for like daycare and boarding in the daily form, every line has to have its own description, and it's separate from the grooming. And it's the color code is different. So you gotta understand that if somebody pays for boarding, you still have to put on the daily form the name of the person, the last name, the phone number. Why are you charging them that? If it's for boarding, if it's for daycare, all the information has to be on the daily too. Okay. Our supplies are not for sale, including, we used to get magazines, not anymore, but then the magazines, employees, would take them home, and then those magazines were for the business. Cleaning supplies, those are not for you to take. You're not supposed to take anything from the grooming, anything from the daycare, not even paper towels like to take home or anything like that. Nothing. That's stealing. And I take it very seriously. You're not supposed to take something that doesn't belong to you. That includes money from the register, even if you're gonna replace it, even if it's just to buy breakfast and then you're gonna put it in there later. Don't touch the money in the register. Period. You get fired because of that. And if I have to fire you, I have to file a police report. Okay? So never touch something that is not yours. If you're not sure, ask. The $20 bills and then $50 bills and just big bills in general, you're supposed to break them with, go, to PetSmart, call the bank, place a change order. We can go and pick it up. So if you run out of change, you need to let your manager know, because we need to resolve it. We do need change. Ask the groomers, they usually have change because they get tips. Whatever it is, go next door, ask for change, okay? Or place a change order, call Wells Fargo. That's the bank that we use. If you don't know how to do it, talk to your manager. Rawhide, we never recommend rawhide for the boarding dogs. Like people bringing in, treats for the dogs, we never recommend that, okay? Rawhide becomes soft if they chew on one side for a long time, and then the dogs try to swallow it, and the hard part gets stuck. It has happened before, not with us, we've seen it in the news. So the hard part gets stuck in their throats, and they suffocate, so they can die. So rawhide is a no-no. Checklist is for you to do every day. You need to check it at least 3 times a day. Make sure that you read everything, that you're doing everything, because the checklist also tells you like to turn off lights, turn off the dryers, make sure you don't leave water in the in the bathtub, whatever it is. And if you don't do that, it can be very expensive for the business. So make sure that you follow the checklist and that you report the checklist, that you're picking up poop from dirty kennels, poop in the parking lot, whatever it is. It's in the checklist. So make sure that you follow the checklist. Never ever throw paper towels in the toilet. Never ever, nothing else goes in the toilet, just toilet paper. The only thing that can go in the toilet is the toilet paper, because unclogging the sewage is very expensive. So make sure you don't throw anything in there. I'm gonna stop here. This is part 1. You're gonna get a part 2 for this, and I'm gonna read from point 21. I'm gonna start right here, and then all the way to the whole list. So you're gonna get the second part in just a second, okay?